What up, y'all? Star Wars Steph here, and we're going to be taking a look at the results of the top 8 store showdown, the second store showdown that we had at Tabletop Village. Now, this event was pretty sick. There was about 29 people, and here is how the top 8 broke down. Now, this happened just this past weekend. After our 4 rounds of Swiss, this is what the top 8 looked like. So we had a couple of Boba yellows, less than last time, 50% less than last time. Still had a Palp blue, although it was a different player in second place, which is pretty interesting. A Han managed to sneak in this time. A Krenic, Grand Inquisitor, and my favorite Grand Admiral Thrawn. All right. So this is how the top 8 actually took place. So in the 1A matchup, we had Boba versus Thrawn. Boba was able to etch that one out. As you can see, this same Boba player went on to win the tournament. We had Han versus Sabine over here, and Han was able to take that one. This Boba Fett and Han match was pretty intense, went down to time, and Boba was once again able to etch it out. Now, onto this very interesting side of the bracket. We had Boba versus Krenic Green, and Krenic Green was able to take that one. This is actually a really hard matchup for most Boba players. Playing into that control sometimes can be tough if you can't set up enough units to take them out rather early. And then we had a Palp another Palp Blue, versus the Grand Inquisitor Yellow, which actually managed to make its way all the way to the finals. Where in the finals, the Grand Inquisitor met the aforementioned Boba Yellow, and I'm pretty sure this went to only 2 games, and Boba came out on top. Big shout out to Andreas Ace, the person that won the event. Yeah, they played amazing. They got their store showdown promos as well as, their split of the box, and it was pretty sick, and they're a crown champion. All right, looking at the top 8 deck list, that's kind of what we're here for. We have a Red Eyes Blue Man. I love this Yu-Gi-Oh reference right here. And we're going to just start off looking at the deck, some of the interesting things to check out in the deck. So Bib Fortuna was a very interesting one, if you ask me. It does come in shielded, sits there at a 1/3, and it lets you play an event from your hand that costs pretty much 1 less, I'm pretty sure. So it can be very, very effective in playing multiple. Next up, the 3 No Good to Me Dead. This card's really, really good, especially when combined with Boba. 3 Sparks. This is probably for the other control matchups, just trying to hit their things like restock and their vigilance. More interesting things would be the I Am Your Father, but we see this in many of the hard control decks. Opting to play the Syndicate Lackeys, so a lot of ambush here. We got 3 yellow units with ambush, probably trying to swing into the later stages of an aggro deck that's trying to come back, and then put a big body on in return. Obviously, the Bounty Hunter crew is super duper good. Get back your vigilance. Get back maybe your Spark Rebellion, or even your Super Laser Blast. And we have Count Dooku, who is actually pretty strong. Comes in shielded and defeats the unit with 4 or less. So 3 Super Laser Blasts and the Avengers to round out the main deck. Side deck's pretty interesting, as they have the Childsons in the side, not in the main. I wonder what they're taking out. Probably the Bibs, the likes of Bibs Fortuna. Yeah, pretty cool 8th place deck list. On to 7th, we have Eduardo, and they were able to crack the top 8 with Sabine Green. Now this deck's super duper good. Most of the things here are actually pretty standard. You cannot fault anybody for playing just max consistency. The 1 Zeb is really, really interesting. It's really good in the mirror match. Obviously, they have the second one in the side deck. Your Sabine Wren top 8 deck. Oh, one wolf in the main too. That's pretty interesting as well. And then playing a Partisan Insurgents in the side. Maybe just as more early drops. Maybe this is good in the mirror as it has 4 health. Next up is Chris's Boba Cunning list. Really, really good player, and really, really good list. I know that they had been crafting this up for a while, working with their testing team. This seems to be a deck that a lot of teams that come together and test find that this deck is actually very, very strong. Nothing really to note here. Pretty much looking like very standard Boba Yellow. There'll be another one that we'll take a look at here, the first place list. So let's move on to our Palp Blue player. Now this deck is absolutely amazing. Again, this is a deck list in ascending order from basically their standings after the top 8 shook up. So yeah, this is just right outside the top 4. This is going to be your 5th place deck list. And interesting thing to know here, the Yularen, maybe for some heal, early heal. And the one of ships in here and the one of super laser blast. So pretty thin on his top end, maining the reinforcement walkers. It did work very well for them, so we can't really complain too much at all. But yeah, only one resupply, I guess, if you needed to use it. But if you do look over to the side, we got a couple more ships coming in here to bolster that line if they do play against actual control decks. But yeah, this deck seems pretty well suited for the meta overall. I love the regional governor include actually as well. Just to call out a card that your opponent's playing and that you know that they're going to probably have. Most deck lists are pretty cut and dry right now. All right, next up we have Jeff cracking the top 4 with their Krenic deck, Krenic Green. Some notable things in here would be the Piet, the Electro Staff, and the fact that a lot of these are a bunch of one-ofs. I'm not sure how this person managed to pull this one out of the bag, but yeah, this deck is full of one-ofs, very situational cards, I guess, things that they don't want to see in multiples of, but if you see it and you got to resource it, then it feels bad. But obviously it worked for them. They were able to make it into top 4. This would be a deck to kind of play around with, to test out. Maybe the standard all 3s and a couple of 2s. 2-ofs is not the way to go. Maybe this is the new wave. So we shall see moving forward. But yeah, very, very interesting Krenic Green deck. And we have in 3rd place Henry playing their Han Solo Echo Base. I'm not doing them justice. They actually have the showcase. So yeah, I wish I could put the showcase picture in there instead. This deck is actually really, really cool. I love to see Han ramp, and then play things like Millennium Falcon on turn 1. You know, Syndicate Lackeys very early, which is not a thing that you see in a lot of Han decks, but this card's actually super duper good with its ambush. As if you have something like Echo Base Defender, you can take out some pretty large ground units if you play those kind of sequentially. The Rogue Squadron Skirmisher, this card is super duper good. Get Back Leia. You usually have a ton of extra resources, so this card absolutely makes sense as it adds a resource back to your hand from your discard pile. So yeah, usually get Leia and play her out. You could tap something down. Yeah, I'm really liking this card. I'm really liking how this card fits into this deck. Nothing else super crazy to note. Spark Rebellion only at 2 in the main. I would maybe want to see that at 3. We do have 2 Akbars. I'm kind of a fan of this. I would rather see more Akbars than not. Especially playing it off of a U-Wing reinforcement. Just more things more damage that you get to do to a unit. And probably the breakout deck of the tournament would be the 2nd place Grand Inquisitor Administrator Tower yellow cunning deck. I think I said everything that I could besides red for red and aggression. all right. Nonetheless, this deck's actually super duper sick. We have an Infiltrator skill giving all of his units Saboteur, whoever he wants to put it on, and then you just have the very strong yellow cards that you can play as well. Greedos, Cartel Spacers, Boba Fett, the 7th Fleet Defender, and Bosk, and even this Jabba. Allow you to get your tricks into your hand, and yeah, Jabba's just huge, right? It's something that they have to deal with. If not, you're probably going to get in about 8 bits of damage with Jabba if they're not dealing with it rather soon. As far as the aggression cards go, I like the split of the Force Lightning and the Force Throw. We are heavy on Force units, so these become active a lot sooner in the game. Also, Grand Inquisitor flips out on 6 rather than Vader 7, so yeah, I could even see this going to 3. The Keep Fighting is really interesting. Obviously, this deck is trying to be a super duper aggro deck, so yeah, swing and then swing again, and then maybe even use Grand Inquisitor to swing again. You can swing 3 times with a unit. In one action phase. That could be very, very, very interesting. I love the Interceptor for the pesky space units. Most space units have about 3 health, so most of the early plays. So it's really, really good to get that in there. One open fire in the main, not a trick, just a tactic, so you're not getting it super duper early. Looking over to the side deck, we do have more tricks that we are siding in, so we have Sanctuary and Shoot First. Out of aspect, Bodhi Rook. Now this is pretty cool, especially if you know you're playing against control, right? I mean, you'll pay that extra 2, because you know they're going to be holding the laser blast in the different events as long as they can, right? And on 5, you can just pick off whatever and throw out your Inquisitor and keep on swinging. So yeah, this deck looks to be. I like this deck a lot. I might have to try this one myself. But yeah, on to the first place deck list. We have Ace here with their Boba Yellow deck. Very, very interesting to, very similar to Chris Grimm's deck. Might even be, yeah, just like I said, they test together and they're playing pretty much the same exact 60. Really, really cool to see. Boba Yellow just proving itself to be able to combat the likes of Control. Not that it's going to win those matchups, but it doesn't just auto lose, right? It doesn't auto lose to Control, doesn't auto lose to Sabine and Aggro. It just has a wider matchup spread. Maybe the percentage points are a little bit lower, but yeah, you cannot complain with the results of this deck that it's been having lately. And I think the really strong points of this deck are just going to be all of those actual double aspect cards, right? So the Cunning, the Bodhi Rook, and the Cantina Bouncer. I know I said this before, but these 3 are probably the strongest double aspect cards, I mean, in the game, right? Bounce 1 back to your hand, pick something out from your hand, and then Cunning does a combination of all those plus giving something 4 and or exhausting 2 units. So yeah, that was the top 8. Really great tournament. Thanks everybody for showing up to the tournament. Thank all you guys for watching, and until next time, peace.